Chapter 5.3 Decide and Execute. Once you have identified a situation and predicted a possible conflict, your next step is to decide. Once you make a decision, the execution step of the IPTA process will follow. Objective. Name the 3 decisions you must make when applying the IPDE process. Drivers must continuously identify and predict until they have enough information to make correct decisions. To execute a decision means that you carry out the action that you have decided to do. In this situation, reducing speed so the passing car can merge safely is a low-risk action. Objective. List the 3 most important actions you can take to avoid a conflict. Decide. As you follow your intended path of travel, your decision might be to maintain speed, change direction, or communicate. You might decide to use a combination of these actions. Be prepared to rethink your decision as zones close and greater hazards are presented. The driver in the yellow car decided to accelerate to provide space for the passing driver to return to the right lane. What might have happened if the driver of the yellow car had decided not to accelerate? Decide to change speeds. Any decision you make will be influenced by the speed of your own vehicle as well as the speed of other vehicles. You can decide to maintain your speed, decelerate, brake, or accelerate. Base your decision about speed control on your evaluation of the situation as well as the possible consequences for your actions. Decide to change directions. In order to change your position in the roadway, you will steer to the right or left. A greater change of direction might even be a lane change. You can use an escape path into an open zone to avoid conflicts. This area of space around the vehicle is called a space cushion. Objective. Describe the 3 different lane positions available to you within your lane. 3 different lane positions are available to you within your lane. Lane position 1, this is the safest position under normal circumstances. In this position, you have the most space around your vehicle. Lane position 2, you might decide to use this position when there is a closed right front zone with an open left front zone. Lane position 3, use this position when there is a closed left front zone with an open right front zone. There may be times when the situation requires a greater change in direction than the 3 lane positions. You may decide that the best position is in some situations is to straddle a lane line. Return to the lane position 1 as soon as it is safe to do so. Decide to communicate. The decision to communicate with others of the roadway help reduce the possibility of conflict. You can decide to communicate with others by using your lights, using your horn, vehicle position, eye contact, and body movement. After deciding the best method of communication, you will execute the action to inform others of your decision. This driver's decision is used body movement by waving the driver on the left through the intersection. Traffic flow. The safest position in traffic is where the fewest vehicles surround you. Continually analyze your left, front, and right zones and make decisions to adjust your speed or direction if one of your zones become too close. Use the following technique to manage time, space, and distance in order to maintain your safe path of travel. Minimize a hazard. You always want to minimize a hazard or reduce the possibility of conflict by deciding to put more distance between yourself and the hazard. In this traffic scene, the yellow car is approaching the parked car on the right. What might the driver of the yellow car predict, decide, and execute to maintain the hazard? Separate hazards. There will be times when you face more than one hazard at the same time. When this occurs, do not try to handle both or all hazards at once. Instead, decide to adjust your speed to let them separate so you can deal with only one hazard at a time. The driver in this traffic scene sees an approaching truck. Both are heading for the same one-lane bridge and meet on the bridge at the same time. To avoid trouble, what might the driver do to separate hazard? Slow down, stop, let that guy go through before he starts. Comparison space. Sometimes hazards cannot be minimized or separated. When this occurs, you must decide to comparison space by giving as much space as possible to the greater hazard. Compromising space. The driver of the yellow car is compromising space to give more space to the greater hazard, the truck. Again, compromising space. Execute. Carrying out your decision in order to avoid a conflict is the execution step of the IPD process. This step involves the physical action used in the driving. In most cases, you will execute routines, actions, and maneuvers. Most important action, however, involves timing and placement of your vehicle to avoid conflict. The important action you will execute are control speed, steering, and communication. Control speed. There are different techniques to control vehicle speed. Always check your rear zone before decelerating or braking in any manner. Speed can be maintained by reduced by merely releasing the accelerator when you see a red light. Use gentle pressure on the brake if more slowing is needed. When greater deceleration is needed, use firm braking. The amount of braking needed will vary from the situation, the speed of your vehicle, the condition of the roadway, and the condition of your brakes. Avoid locking the brakes in an emergency stop. Locked brakes make steering impossible because the wheels might be turning to provide traction for steering. Some newer vehicles have anti-lock brake systems that help prevent loss of steering control. An anti-lock brake system helps stop the vehicle. The driver of the car in the traffic scene is entering the intersection at the same time the white car from the right makes a right turn and enters the driver's path. The driver avoids locking the brakes so as not to lose steering control. Steering. Steering too much. When you decide to steer away from a possible conflict, execute just the amount of steering needed. If you turn the steering wheel too much, you can lose control of your vehicle, especially at higher speeds. Too little steering. Try to steer just enough to avoid a conflict without making jerky or sudden movements. Drivers who keep space cushions around their vehicles usually have an escape path to steer into, this reducing risk. Daytime lights. Some cars are equipped with daytime running lights. Research shows that your chances of being in a daytime crash is reduced by daytime running lights or using low beam headlights all the time. Communication. Communicate. Communicate by using the following: headlights, taillights, and brake lights, turn signals, parking lights and hazard flashers, backup lights, horns, vehicle position, eye contact, and body movement. Headlights, taillights, and brake lights. Using daytime headlights reduce daytime crashes by improving the visibility of the vehicle. Using headlights during periods of reduced visibility, your vehicle can be seen more easily if the headlights are on, even during the daytime. Turn signal lights. Turn them on 3 to 5 seconds before making a change in direction. Parking lights and hazard flashers. When you are parked along the roadway but not in the emergency situation, have your parking lights turned on. If your vehicle is disabled, turn your hazards on. Be prepared to change your path of travel when you see a blinking or flashing of the stopped delivery truck. Backup lights. White backup lights let others know you are backing up. Look for backup lights on vehicles in parked areas. Horn. A light tap is usually enough to warn. In emergencies, use a loud blast. Vehicle position. The position of the vehicle in the roadway communicates a message. It indicates to others your intended path of travel. Eye contact and body movement. Try to develop eye contact with other roadway users. Body movement, such as waving of your hand, may tell drivers to proceed. Combination actions. You often will need to execute a combination of actions. Sometimes you might need to accelerate and steer at the same time. If you are driving alongside the parked vehicle in this traffic scene, you would need to combine several actions. What actions would you take? Review. Describe the 3 situations where you would use each of the lane positions. List the 3 actions you can execute to avoid conflict and explain how these actions help with preventing conflict.